It is 4 o'clock. Please stand to sing O Canada. Please be seated. I'll ask the clerk for the roll call.
Mayor Sue Patterson.
Present.
Councillor Warren Dickert.
Present.
Councillor Harold Fleet.
Present.
Councillor Dave Hawking.
Present.
Councillor Brandon Cable.
Present.
Councillor Carol Hudson.
Present.
Councillor Susan Zacko.
Present. Thank you. All members are accounted for. We'll begin with the land acknowledgement. As we work toward reconciliation with Indigenous people, we begin our meeting today by respectfully acknowledging that we are situated on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe Nation, the people of three fires known as Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations, and further give thanks to the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nawash, now known as the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, as the traditional keepers of this land. So welcome to our regular council meeting for Monday, April 17th, 2023. Good afternoon, council, staff, guests, the viewing public, and the media. Council, does anyone have a disclosure of pecuniary interest or a conflict of interest? Seeing none, if one should arise during the meeting, you may declare it then. So item 5 is agenda additions or deletions. We do not have any this afternoon. Item 6 is delegations. And I welcome Mr. Kelly Linton from Linton Consulting Services as our delegation, speaking about our project launch for our corporate strategic plan. Welcome to the podium.
You think I'd know how to use this by now. Good afternoon, Mayor Patterson and members of council. It's a pleasure for me and my colleague Andy Goldie to be with you today. Both of us are still getting used to being on this side and be speaking to council, so hopefully we won't screw things up too much this afternoon for you. So we're thrilled the town of Hanover has engaged Linton Consulting for this very important assignment. So today, I'm going to talk about a few things because it really is important for this project launch to start this project all on the same page. That's absolutely critical. I like clarity. I think clarity is our friend, and we want to make sure that we're all on the same page when it talks about what we want to do with this project. So the first thing that I want to talk to is we want to launch the strategic action plan. I want to tell you a little bit about us and our team first. And then highlight the project objectives, highlight our approach, our consulting style, who's going to be doing what, who's accountable for what, look at the timelines, the activities, and the deliverables. And then at the end, I want to ask a question to council what your expectations of the project are, because I really feel like we want to be here to serve you and to make sure that you're getting what you need at the end of this project. So that's really important for Andy and I. So a little bit about Linton Consulting first. We established our company in 2004 in the beautiful town of Elora, Ontario, just a little bit away from here. Me and my wife and business partner, Michelle, started our company. And it was really originally called Imaginate because we really felt like we needed to bring people's ideas to action. So we came up with a word called Imaginate. We've since changed our name, but our purpose is the same. We want to provide practical, action-oriented recommendations to all of our clients and help them to transition from strategic vision to action. We have several areas of specialty, strategic planning being one, but also organizational design, process improvement, performance measures, and leadership development. So our clients have told us that our competitive advantage is our ability to be engaging and make sure that we provide practical recommendations and do so in a collaborative way with all of our clients. So the team that you have for this project is myself and Andy Goldie. We weren't cobbled together in the last couple of weeks. We've worked very hard over the last 8 years. I have an experience as a consultant over the last 25 years, since 1999. Seems like a long time ago, and I was much less gray then. And I just finished 8 years as the mayor of Center Wellington and 4 years as the warden of Wellington County. And Andy has 33 years experience as a municipal administrator and 10 as a Center Wellington CEO. So we were a team together, the mayor CEO team. He also, unfortunately, is a Bruins fan. Well, I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan. Unfortunate for me because I haven't had that much to cheer about in the last couple of years, and fortunate for him because he has a lot to cheer about in the next couple of months. So he should be in a good mood, and that's good for our client. So for us, the objective of this project is to establish a results-focused strategic action plan to help council work with the management team to identify important town issues and opportunities, establish a common focus, outline priorities, establish key performance measures, and build tracking tools to communicate the accomplishments to the community. And I read that verbatim because that's important. I want it to be clear that's what we intend to work with this leadership team on. And it will be a strategic action plan. It won't just be a strategic plan. It'll be an action plan. We're going to be driving to action, and we're going to have fun in the process. This is going to be a team building opportunity. It's going to be the senior team working with the council team, two different roles, but one team. And we're going to be working hard on that. The strategic action plan at the end of the day will enable the town to manage the direction of this term of council and beyond. And we'll make sure that we engage every member of council, every member of the senior team, and the public to make sure that we develop a community-oriented Made in Hanover plan. Okay. So a little bit about our approach, and I'm not going to go into too much detail about it, but I wanted to pull out a couple different things. We do have a different kind of consulting style. I think you'll enjoy working with us. One of the things that we do right at the top is a project launch. I'm really pleased that we get to be in front of council to do this launch. It doesn't always happen that a strategic plan starts at council, but this is the right place for it to start. So thanks for having us here today. It really is important to clarify the scope, the objectives of a project, and to make sure that we're all clear on what the deliverables are going to be for this project. There'll be extensive executive involvement. The council and the senior management team will be actively involved. We will be, as I look at the approach, we will be doing two leadership sessions, and they're going to be engaging leadership sessions, and we're going to be doing work at the sessions. So get ready to roll your sleeves up because we're going to get results at the end of both of those days. There also is going to be targeted community engagement. So we're going to make sure that we gather valuable community input, and that's going to inform and validate the strategic, the goals and objectives. You really can't do a strategic action plan without asking people what they think their priorities are. It really is going to help validate what we come to at the end of the day. And along the way, it's really important that we hit our timelines. My consulting firm always hits timelines. We have a very rigorous project management process, and we make sure that the activities and the milestones that we have in a detailed project plan, that we hit them. Doesn't get that any more simple than that. As far as the team roles, we have the CEO as the project manager for this, and the CEO leadership team. When I say leadership team, I mean council and the senior management team. They'll provide ongoing direction, project scope, objectives, and approach throughout the life cycle of this project, and provide that subject matter expertise when it comes to the town of Hanover as required. I'll be your point of contact, your client point of contact for everything, and I'm on the hook to make sure all deliverables are at the highest level of quality. Andy will be with me every step of the way. We'll be co-facilitating the leadership sessions and working on the deliverables together. And he'll bring his 33 years of municipal government experience to the table. So really, we make a good team, and you'll see that in the sessions. We've worked together for the last almost a decade. And we really try to bring that administrative perspective as well as the political, the council perspective to the table, because you need both to have a well-run municipality and to have a really good action-oriented strategic plan. So a little bit about the timelines for the project. The project is broken into 3 phases. The first phase is really where are we now? The second phase is where do we want to go? And the third phase is how do we get there? So the first phase starts with the project launch today, and then we'll be scheduling, in the second phase, we'll be scheduling one-on-one interviews with all of you to make sure that we understand from your perspective what you think the key priorities are going forward. And we use those interviews to structure the first leadership session and to structure the online citizen questionnaire that will go out, as well as the focus groups that we'll do. So we want to make sure that everything that we do has a purpose and everything that we do is targeted. And then phase 3 is all about pulling everything together, making sure we develop a plan that really is a practical roadmap for this term of council. That's absolutely critical. So we have the project starting today and going on till August. Okay, and we'll hit all of our milestones. A little bit about phase 1. April, we'll be gathering and reviewing. Your CAO, Sherry, has given us some studies and documents, and we'll make sure that we get anything else that we need, because we don't want to go into this project and not make good use of the work that you've already done as a town. So we make sure that we pull that in, do this launch session, start the initial conversations, and then we'll build a detailed project plan that schedules out everything that we need to do over the course of the project, and get out a project communique, so staff are aware of what's going on, and the community is aware of what's going on. Clarity, again, is something that's really important for a project like this. So those are the 3 deliverables: the launch, the communique, detailed project plan, and they'll be done as of next week. Phase 2, it's April to June. This is where we get into the interviews, the one-on-one interviews and the focus group sessions. We've picked, and I know that the town is going to help us pick those focus groups that we're going to talk to. It's a targeted phase, so this is where a project can go off the rails if you go too far, but we really want to make sure that we have targeted focus group sessions to hear what the community has to say, in addition to interviews with the leadership team. We'll do 2 leadership team sessions. The first one at the beginning of the phase, the second one closer to the end of the phase, with the different focuses. The first leadership team session will be focusing on the key theme areas and looking at what are those key theme areas. The second leadership team will be, okay, so now that we know the main, I'm going to call them buckets to use a real formal term. Now that we have the main buckets, what are the priorities that fit underneath those and the actions that fit underneath those? So leadership session 2 is all about driving to action. Okay, and then we'll pull everything together from phase 2. The other thing that you'll have in the second leadership session is you'll have the results from the staff questionnaire, as well as the online questionnaire and the findings that we have from the focus group sessions. So everything's pulled together. That'll be the beginning part of the second session. So we have a really good context to then, as a leadership team, make some really good decisions about what your priorities are going to be in this term of council. And then that at the end of the second session is really to look at the strategic plan template. This is the template that we're going to use. And once we have that triggers the start of phase 3. And phase 3 from June to August will be to draft the strategic action plan for the leadership team review and revision. So it's going to be an incremental process where we go back and forth a few times to make sure that this is reflective of this group and what this group wants. And then we'll make sure that it's the format and how it's presented not only works for this leadership team, for council and the senior management team, but also can be picked up by anybody in the community and understood. We're going to be driving to simple language that people in Hanover can look at and say, oh, that's what this council is all about. That's what this team is trying to do for us. And they're going to be goals that are as simple worded as possible. You're going to hear Andy and I, when we're in the sessions, to keep trying to push us towards simple outcome focused language. Sometimes in government, we have a habit of using acronyms and government speak. We want to get beyond that, because for people who don't know that much about municipal government, and there's a lot of people in that category, we want to make sure that they can understand where their elected officials are putting their tax dollars towards. And that's the purpose of a strategic plan, is to drive budgeting and to make sure that you communicate what your priorities are as a local government. And then at the end of the day, you'll have a roadmap for action that clearly identifies what you're going to do in this term of council. So that's overall, that's a really high level review of what this project is all about. But the question I would like to pose, if it's appropriate to pose a question of council, is your expectations of the project and what are the barriers to this project being successful from your perspective?
Council. Who's going to start with the question? Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Kelly, for your presentation. First of all, this is Leaf country, not Bruin country or Hab country. So you're off to a wrong step here. So anyways, I was put in this chair by the residents of Hanover, and I think this plan going forward is for our residents, and that's very important to me. It's not about myself or management, it's for the residents of Hanover, and that's why I'm here. So thank you.
Councillor Cable.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you very much for your presentation. I think it's really exciting that we're getting this launched, and hopefully we'll be able to stay on the timeline, as you said. One of my concerns is around the community input piece and using only an online survey. And we know that online surveys can pose some barriers for people that perhaps have limited internet access, or for some of our older population that perhaps struggle with the online format. So I just wonder if there's another option for those residents to participate, and how are we going to make sure that we get a large enough sample? Because in 2019, we did a mail out to go alongside the online. I thought that was a good compromise.
Yeah, really good questions on two parts there. The first part is it'd be really good if we can have an online portion to it, so that getting the information, getting the data can be generated and achieved efficiently. So if there's a way that we can work to give people the opportunity to do a survey in a paper format, but still have somebody input it electronically, then maybe that's a good hybrid model to use, because it really is, if you do the paper based format, it's a lot of work in behind the scenes to pull all that information. So if we can develop a hybrid where people are using town resources or town laptops, or we have the town go to certain places and provide opportunities for them to use a vehicle to do it not on paper, that would be a good thing for us to pursue, because we really do have to scope this down to something that is achievable in a time frame and gets good quality data as a result. And now I spent way too long talking about the first point. I forget about the second point.
No, I really think that kind of captures my main question. Maybe it's similar to how we do voting, right? If we have iPads or things that people can come to the Civic Center and use. I guess my only other question is around how do we make sure that it's statistically representative of our community, right? How do we make sure that it's not just the affluent people in the community that are filling out the survey, or how do we really make sure that we're getting a wholesome view of the residents of Hanover?
Yeah, and I guess, firstly, you asked the question about making sure you get as many people as possible to fill it out. And I think the way that we do that is make sure it's available on all the town's social media and provide the link and communicate the link out as widespread as possible. For example, I know that at the beginning of May, there is some sort of event. What's that event? The what?
The Home and Garden Show.
Yeah, the Home and Garden Show. That's a perfect opportunity to share that link with as many people as possible. So firstly, let's get as many people as possible aware of the project. Every time you send it out, put a little bit of a blurb, and we'll be pulling together kind of that upfront blurb as to what this project is all about and why we really want your input. So make sure you disseminate that as much as possible. And the second thing is, if we wanted to, we can always ask some questions up front about you know, their demographics, things like that. If we wanted to make sure that we understood who was filling this survey out. I want to caution you that you can go too far down that path, and we really could spend 3 months on doing just a citizen survey, and then the budget would be shot. So we really do have to make sure that we are targeted in that question. We're going to make sure the questions are really, really good. I'm a huge fan of only asking the questions that you really want feedback for, because you want to make sure that people read this, they're providing meaningful answers back. And so that's why we have to keep the questionnaire as short as possible and as succinct as possible. So let's just widely distribute the avenues for filling this out. And if you want me to work with Sherry and the team to have some upfront questions, to have more of a sense of who's filling out the survey, we can do that.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Hawking.
Hi, Kelly. Thanks for your presentation. I'd be interested to get your take of what you've heard about Hanover
So far today. No, that's a very purpose why we're doing one-on-one interviews with each one of you. Is because we want to get a sense. I mean, we had a meeting already with Sherry and with the mayor. And I'm looking forward to meeting with each one of you and getting a sense of what's this community all about. I'm not coming in here as an expert at Hanover. I'm coming in here doing strategic plans for municipalities. And it's really important for us to do that consultation work first. By the end of the project, I can guarantee you I'll know a whole lot more about Hanover. And so will the community, because I think it really is important that this is a made in Hanover plan. And that starts with interviews with each one of you. And then going and talking to the community and really finding out what the essence is behind what makes this town special, and making sure that you communicate that out and making sure that drives priority setting. So that's my answer. I can answer you better in a month from now.
Thank you. I bring a bit of a historical presence council. I was on council in the 80s and then took a long leave of absence and been on most recently. And I think when I look back over the years, previous councils and this council, we believe in, at least I think I'm speaking correctly, in a progressive approach to our citizenry. And when you look at us, we're like the little engine that can. When you look at our population and our assessment base, and you look at all the amenities that we are able to provide for our citizens, and the quality of life that comes embraced within those services, is something that I am very proud of, and I want to see continue on as we move forward. I'm of a belief that you can't stand pat. You either go back or you go forward. And my position is we got to keep going forward. And one of the areas that I'm sure we're going to struggle with is the finances that go with delivering that type of progressive quality of life for our citizens. So that's just the sort of my take. And but I'm looking forward to the process.
Yeah, and I think that those comments are exactly what we're going to be asking for all members of council and the team in our first session. We want to know what you think makes Hanover such a special place, and how do we make sure that we use that as the foundation for what our priorities are for this term of council. So thanks for that.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Dickert, do you have a comment?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Your Worship. And just thank you, Kelly, for the presentation. And I'm very pleased with what I'm hearing. You know, I think you have a very common sense approach to it here. It looks like something that we can all understand and dig our teeth into, and come up with a good strategic plan going forward. And in some respects, sometimes it's good to have someone that doesn't have a preconceived thought of what the town is or isn't, and gives a very holistic look at what can be done in the future. So I look forward to working with you in the next couple of months, and thank you again for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Sacco.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you for your presentation, Kelly. Just more of a comment. I'm really happy to hear about your background and that you know what it's like to sit in this chair. I'm a new councillor, so I have lots of expectations, and I look forward to hearing what you have to offer. I'm wondering about the interview sessions that will be in April, will it? Have you set up a schedule or dates or any of that?
Yeah, good question. I'd like you getting to action right away. That's good. We'll be setting these up, but we'll work with Sherry and her team to set these up starting next week. Yeah.
Okay, I would just like to say my expectations are that once all the information comes in from our residents, council, staff, I want to see some clear actions and prioritized actions, that whether they're affordable and can they be done in the timeline that people really want them done in, may not be possible, because these decisions, this plan is going to guide our decisions in the next 4 years, and it will be our role to follow this strategic plan and not branch off. So we need everything prioritized and very clearly, so council has an idea of where we're moving forward. So thank you. Okay, any other comments? I don't see any, so thank you, Kelly and Andy, and this is exciting. I think we're all looking forward to it, so we'll be chatting very soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you for council for having us.
Okay, moving on with the agenda. Item 7, business arising from the minutes. We do not have any. Item 8 is council and committee of the whole minutes. 8.1 is the regular council meeting minutes from March the 20th. I need a mover and seconder to put this on the floor. And I have Councillor Fleet and Councillor Sacco. You'll remember that evening we had a delegation from Sarah Pelton. She is the coordinator for the Grey Bruce Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan. We also had a delegation from the Grey Bruce Federation of Agriculture. And we agreed to a 1-year extension on the plan of subdivision for Lakia Giorgio. And we approved reconstruction, approved the tender. It was awarded to Omega Contractors, reconstruction of a section of 11th Street. Some big items happening here. We also approved the Trail Bridges tender. So any questions or comments with those minutes? Seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Item 8.2 is committee of the whole meeting minutes from April 3rd. I need a mover and seconder to put those on the floor, and Councillor Cable and Councillor Hudson. And again, you'll remember we established the terms of reference for the proposed splash pad ad hoc committee and reconstruction of a section of 24th Avenue, otherwise known as County Road 28. That was awarded to Cedar Well Excavating. And council also supported 2 resolutions. One to call upon the provincial government to commit to ending homelessness, and the other one to support legislation to strengthen municipal codes of conduct and compliance with those codes of conduct. Any comments or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Item 8.3 is was our special council meeting minutes from April 4th. I need a mover and seconder to put those on the floor. Councillor Sackle and Councillor Hawking. That afternoon, we heard from Murray Clark, Erebus Municipal Services, discussing or sharing with us growing prosperity in West Grey and Hanover. And the objective is understanding growth issues for both communities for mutually beneficial solutions. Any comments or questions? I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Item 9 is staff reports. We do not have any this afternoon. Item 10 is committees of council minutes, and we have 5 sets of minutes, and I need a mover and seconder to put those on the floor before they're highlighted. Councillor, Deputy Mayor Dickert, thank you. I got to remember to look up, and Councillor Cable. So the first one is the Age Friendly Advisory Committee minutes from Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Worship. Age Friendly Advisory Committee met March 20th. I'll just go over some of the highlights. 5.1 Central Ontario Age Friendly Network update. Loretta Dunn shared information from a recent Central Ontario Aging Friendly Network meeting action. Add to future agenda items long and short-term goals the committee members would like to accomplish. 5.13 was discussed, Richmond Hill activity kits. Hanover Library offers games and puzzles for adults and seniors, and books are also available. Our Active Aging Expo, what a great success. I'd like to thank all council that volunteered their time and everybody that was involved, because it was very successful, and thank you to everyone involved. Age Friendly, we're looking at having coffee in the library. I guess it will be held, and we're hoping to do that later in the summer. So that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fleet. Item 10.2 is, of course, if there's any questions, please let me know. 10.2 is the Emergency Management Program Committee minutes. Chief Deniger.
Thank you, Your Worship. So on March 15th at 11, the committee met. All were in attendance except one alternate CEMC. We reviewed the previous minutes of December 13th. We reviewed emergency incidents in 2023. There are none as of yet. The activities of the meeting, including reviewing our hazard identification and risk assessment. Actions included a small number of suggestions from the committee. We also reviewed our critical infrastructure list. We reviewed the public awareness and education strategy for the year. I provided an update on drone streaming as well as our command trailer conversion to the committee. We looked at volunteer badges and how they would be used during emergencies, reviewed our dashboard so that the committee was informed on how it works. We looked at social media posts, reviewed the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority letter, as well as an update regarding the annual emergency exercise requirement under the province. We reviewed our training and mock plans for 2023 with some suggested dates. And I also shared that I was meeting with the amateur radio emergency service people to talk about excess fire department radios and how they could be used during emergencies.
Thank you. Any comments or questions for the chief? Okay, we'll move on. Item 10.3 is the Heritage Committee minutes. I was going to ask Laura to highlight those, but Councillor Sackle, did you want to, or our CAO will highlight them?
Perhaps the CAO should do that.
Okay.
I think we're in a bit of a unique situation just for our listening public where we've got our subcommittee and we didn't have our economic, cultural and tourism development committee to kind of minutes with it as well. So that's kind of our practice. So just from a heritage committee perspective, they are looking at their building recognition signs for 2023 and have earmarked a couple of businesses to approach to see about their interest to be involved in that program. They've also be changing over the P&H Center display. So I encourage our listening public to check that out. That's the display cases at the P&H Center. And they've had a number of items donated to their memorabilia, some from Norm's restaurant, as well as an artist that has ties to Hanover and possibly donating some of their items as well. So, and the committee is also looking for an additional member. So if you're interested, then I would encourage our listening public to apply through the town website for that committee.
Thanks, Sherry. Item 10.4 is Parks, Recreation and Culture Advisory Committee minutes. Councillor Hudson.
So the Parks, Recreation and Culture met on Wednesday, March the 22nd, and there was a member resignation. And so there's a recruitment that's going to follow, advertising going out to replace that person. Staff provided an overview of the budget summary. An update was provided to the committee members about the trail bridges and tender process, which most of you know about now. Pardon me. The Age Friendly Committee did host a great expo on March the 28th, and the outdoor rink was officially shut down, and I believe it was dismantled a couple of weeks ago. The ice update, am I wrong that the Barrens are done? Is that right? Are the Barrens finished? The Barrens are finished. So we've gone past that. The March break kids camps are going to be from March 13th to the 17th, and they were at capacity every day. The senior 55 plus games are planned. Registrations have opened. And the Senior Star, something that we haven't had in a little while, there were 3,500 copies of the spring 2023 edition that were sent out by Canada Post for the Hanover residents. And Earth Day coming up April 22nd with activities planned, community-wide yard sale. And I believe the last day you can register for that is tomorrow. There's also a children's contest and the community litter pickup, which I believe there's a couple of challenges out there, maybe Councillor Fleet, to see who gets the most. So spring aquatic courses are slated at the end of March. They're happening as well. And as far as we discussed a lot about the Hanover splash pad, and information still coming in from that as well to follow along with some of our previous meetings on that. And I think that's covered it. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 10.4.1 is the Disc Golf Course Development Ad Hoc Committee minutes. And Councillor Cable.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Disc Golf Course Development Committee met on March the 7th, and the meeting really focused on hole sponsorship. So as noted in the minutes, 6 of the 9 holes had been sponsored at that point in time, but very pleased to share that 9 of 9 are now sponsored. So we're very thankful to Grants Independent, Canadian Tire, the Hanover Bentinck and Brand Agricultural Society, Hobart Food Equipment, Domino's Pizza, Whiteman Telecom, the Match Restaurant, Miller Insurance, Germania Mutual Insurance, and Cooperators Insurance for sponsoring those holes. And so we look forward to getting plans in place for installation. We're hoping that the course will be installed in May, which is coming up soon. So I believe the baskets have been ordered, and kind of the next steps for signage is underway. And so that's our update for disc golf at this point in time, but everybody can get practicing their Frisbee shots, and we'll see everybody out there this summer.
Thank you. So that was the last set of minutes for that motion. It was moved by the Deputy Mayor and seconded by Councillor Cable. And we are receiving the information and approving the recommendations contained in those minutes. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Item 11 is bylaws, and I need a mover and seconder. We have one bylaw to put that on the floor, Councillor Fleet and Councillor Sackel, and I'll ask the clerk for the intent of the bylaw, please.
Bylaw 3260-23 is a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the March 20th, 2023 regular council meeting and the April 4th, 2023 special council meeting.
Thank you. So it's been moved and seconded that bylaw number 3260-23 be introduced and that it be taken as read a first, second, and third time, finally passed, signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and inserted in the bylaw book. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Item 12 is correspondence requiring action. 12.1. I need a mover and seconder to put this on the floor. Councillor Cable and Councillor Hudson. Sorry, I'm looking all over the place here. So this is from Andrew Wilkin, our Manager of Building Services and CBO, and it's regarding Building Safety Month. Andrew, would you like to highlight that?
Certainly, Your Worship. Yes, this is a request to proclaim the month of May as Building Safety Month. Every year, the building industry celebrates the importance of the Ontario Building Code and the valuable role of building officials. With Council's blessing, the Building and Development Department will arrange with the clerk's office frequent postings created by the OBOA of safe and sustainable and healthy Ontario Building Code actions as they arise. I'm not sure in the past if we've proclaimed this in the town or not, but yes, it's an initiative by the OBOA and it's something I think we should support.
Thank you. And to my knowledge, I don't remember doing this in the past, so this is a good idea. And please explain again, Andrew, you're vice chair of?
Yes, I'm vice chair of the Blue Water Chapter Ontario Building Officials Association.
Very good. So it's good. We should support this. Any comments or questions? I didn't want to speak out of turn there. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Item 13, reports and correspondence for information. Yes. Item 13.1 is report FI 02-23. It's the quarterly activity report for the fire, January to March, and it's from our Chief Deniger.
Thank you, Your Worship. As stated, this is our quarterly report, January to March of 2023. As we can see, we had 41 calls in total, the highest being for medical, second false fire calls, and third public hazard. For fire inspections, we completed 20 total inspections with 30 reports issued and 6 are still in progress. We completed 3 Alarm for Life visits and there was a compliance of 67%, so 2 were compliant of the 3. For public education, we completed 4 activities, had approximately 195 participants, and spent 7.5 hours completing that public education.
Any questions or comments for the chief? Good to see the number of participants for the public education. Thank you. 13.2 is report PB 1123. It's the Municipal Law Enforcement Quarterly Report, and it's from our Municipal Law Enforcement Officer, Ken Campbell. Welcome, Ken.
Thank you, Your Worship. So for our first quarter, January to March 2023, 17 in parking. Primarily, it's a combination of complaints and tickets issued. And the next one, 11, clean yards, just illegal dumping on property and unlicensed vehicles, dead trees, and accumulation of residential garbage on properties. 5 for zoning, 14 for animal control, consisted of missing animals and dogs running at large in open spaces. So we had an influx of nice weather there, and we had numerous complaints of dogs running at large at the soccer field. So just a word out to residents that have dogs. We only have 1 off-leash dog park. So 2 for noise, 7 for signs, 2 for fences, 8 for property standards. We do have 1 active mobile canteen within the town of Hanover, primarily serving in the industrial park area. 8 for parks and 37 for other inquiries. The recommendation is that report PB 11-23 Municipal Law Enforcement Quarterly Report, January to March 2023, be received by council for information.
Thanks, Ken. Council, any comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll move on. Oh, so you got to be quick. Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Your Worship. Ken, have you had any issues with the new four-way stop? I've heard a few complaints about no parking on the one side.
None that I have heard, Councillor Fleet.
Just with the new children's activity spot on the corner there, I've heard, people picking up their children. There's been, pretty tight there and hard to see the new stop sign.
If I may, through your worship, the only, pardon me, the only comments that I've actually heard of or received were primarily positive. A lot of people were wanting a four-way stop there for quite some time. However, with the addition of that new daycare and also the increased parking at that time, it just seemed like an appropriate time to, put the four-way stop in there, but I've not heard any negative comments about it.
All right, thank you.
Andrew, you have a comment?
Thank you, Your Worship. I have received a few complaints, mainly driven at parking on the opposite side of the road where there is no parking. A lot of that has subsided now. When that property was complete and occupied, the roadway on the property to allow kids to be dropped off based on the snow buildup was a bit of an issue. Now that the snow's gone, they're able to use that property to its full extent as planned. So I would assume now that the snow's dissipated, we won't hear too many on complaints. And yeah, if you've been in town a long time, it takes a little while to get used to that stop sign, but I haven't heard many people rolling through it yet, myself included.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, I had a few comments about the snow being piled in where I didn't see it personally, but I've had some complaints about the snow not being able to, see the stop sign or whatever. But anyways, I hopefully going forward, that won't be an issue. Maybe the snow can be removed. I'm not sure.
Okay, moving on, item 13.3. This is report DCS 10-23, the quarterly financial statement for January to March of this year. It's from Chris Walker, our Director of Corporate Services and Treasurer. Chris.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is a quarterly report that's provided for council review on a regular basis as the information becomes available. You may remember my previous report was regarding the October to December, and at that time I had said that our year-end deficit was about 86,500. It actually came in around 44,500, so it went down lower. We had more grants we were waiting on, and everything was set up properly. And as I mentioned at the last meeting, most of that was because of fuel and repairs to vehicles, around $150,000 over budget. And the audit of the 2022 financials is currently underway and will be presented at a future council meeting. So attached is a balance sheet, which gives you a quick snapshot of what our position is as of March 31st. And we've also attached the check registered listing accounts payables for January to March. Now, on our statement of operations that was attached, it shows that we have $2.5 million, but keep in mind that we did a billing for the February and the May taxes. So on our taxes receivable, if you look on the balance sheet, there's about 3.4 million. So that kind of is why we have a lot of revenue sitting there in the statement of operations that hasn't been collected yet. 3 million of that. And then part of that money is also the money that would go to the school boards and to the county at the end of June when we have to pay for that. So it looks great when you look at your statement of operations, but you got to keep in mind that a lot of that money hasn't come in and it's not all ours. And then we also attach there a request there for our tax receivables to show you where we're at the end of March. Unless you have any specific questions within that report, it's just a formality to provide to you for your information.
Thanks, Chris. I don't see any questions or comments, so we'll move on. Item 13.4 is the Saugeen Municipal Airport Commission meeting minutes. Actually, it's 13.41. So, Councillor Hocking.
Thank you, Worship.
Your microphone. Yeah.
Thanks.
Cool.
Before I begin, I just want to indicate that staff assisted me in proofing the set of minutes, and there are just a few little issues that I have to take back to our meeting on Wednesday. Some things were just corrected or incorrectly stated, and I'll bring those to the next meeting. It's just something that we have to make sure we're correct on. So I will give you highlights of the February 15th and then the 29th. So in the February 15th meeting, under actions items, you will see that we talked about an additional transformer because we've run out of hydro with our current number of hangars. We had, as I've mentioned before, we had 2 additional, and they were planning ahead for, you know, possible new hangars. However, it was agreed that we're not going to go to the expense, and we'll do it when we get people interested in the in constructing new hangars. It's not a big deal that we have to have it right away. We hosted a Wings Night, which was basically our attempt as the commission to communicate with our pilot community. It was very successful. They offered some suggestions, and as in any organization, communication was mentioned, and to that end now we circulate all minutes of meetings to every pilot who has a hangar there. So because some of them just don't like to access stuff from the minutes from the website. So we've tried to make it more accommodating to them. We talked about an asset plan, and I'll make reference to that later on today. We focused on fuel prices. We were getting complaints that our fuel prices were more expensive than surrounding airports. So we checked out our airports in the area, and now we are competitive with all prices. And you'll notice in the airport manager report that she reports that. Under new business, we had different quotes for fertilizer because we had different units. So we tried to compare apples with apples, and we had a local commissioner help us out, and we got that figured out. Farm equipment invoice, it just pointed out again to us the need that we have to get our act in order with long-term asset management. Because if we have another issue like we did last December, where the fuel pedestal was required to be fixed by the commissions in Canada, and there was no option. So that's the purpose that I'll talk about later on. This ONCA document is ongoing. That is the non-for-profit. And I'll have a further discussion at the next meeting. We're going to negotiate the management contract, and we had an update from Cool Aero Academy, which is doing gangbusters out there. That's probably one of the most important things that's happened in the last year. Do you want me to go on to the March 29th? Okay. Under action in the March 29th, the Economic Development Committee from the town of Hanover met out there. We've talked about our invitation to our May 13th. I'm pleased to say that we're getting a great response from a couple of municipalities. The final draft was slated for May the 17th. Revised budget, because Walkerton chose to, or excuse me, Brockton chose to freeze the SMA budget. That impacted the allocation that the town of Hanover and the municipality of West Gray, because we are on a ratio of 42, 31, and 27. So we are basically dealing with the same budget that we had last year. And we're determined to make it work. Friends of the airport, they had an issue on airport maintenance. And I did a bit of homework on this, and their intentions are well-meaning. They wanted to go out, have a work party and fill all the cracks. And in consultation with Mr. Cooper on the whole liability issue, we've decided to go with a reputable company that we've used in the past, just because we know it's done right and it's done to code. So I know it would save money, but sometimes that's not the end result. New business, in an effort to meet our financial obligations and to establish a reserve for the past and future expenditures. A sponsorship document was included in your package. And if you were present with the P&H, there's a lot of borrowed material, the same sort of format. After tonight's meeting, I have a couple that have agreed to be the chairs of the fundraising committee, but there's just one issue that we need to do is we need approval. And I do apologize for this. I thought I just had to do a verbal at this meeting, but thank you to Christine for a prompt. So the reason it's added today is I did this over the weekend, so I do apologize. Thanks, Vicky, for your input on this too. And it's basically asking that we, Christine, the treasurer, accept charitable donations payable to the Sauget Municipal Airport fundraising campaign. And if you read the document clearly, you will see that this money is strictly geared to asset management for capital expenditure. None of that money will be used for the operations. I don't want to repeat myself, but you heard my explanation at budget time, where we were faced with a $50,000 legal bill, which of course we don't have that kind of money to in reserve. And we, again, the cost of the fuel pedestal. So we first of all have to pay off the debt for which is about $42,000 from last year. That's our goal. Have that cleaned off and then build a reserve. And I think Councillor Cable at one of the meetings asked me, was there an asset management plan? And I thank you for that suggestion, because it twigged me to say, come on, now we need to do that out here, because if something broke tomorrow, we would have no way of paying for it. So I do appreciate your input. Hopefully you support our fundraising. The audience will be different. I don't see them, that the campaign rolling into the town of Hanover. It'll be mainly concentrated within the airport community, where we'll be going to seek capital donations. So I'm open to any suggestions or comments, and I sort of pulled 4.3 and 4.4 together, Your Worship. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much, and I just await for your approval to the request I gave you in writing. I will take it to if approved, I take it to the Airport Commission on Wednesday, and we begin the fundraising campaign on Thursday.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Hocking. So we all received this, and the clerk has formalized a motion that I'd like to read, unless you want me to actually read this letter that Councillor Hocking sent. I can do both. So the letter is from Councillor Hocking, or it's from the chair of the Saugeen Municipal Airport Commission, stating the commission plans to initiate a sponsorship campaign in 2023, and on its behalf, I wish to formally request that the Council of the Town of Hanover receive donations for the campaign and issue receipts. The commission tentatively approved the campaign at its meeting on March 29th, 2023, pending the Town of Hanover's agreement to accept donations on its behalf. So now I'd like to read the motion that we have. Then I'll need a mover and seconder, and then open it up for discussion. So the motion reads that Council of the Town of Hanover, that Council authorize the Town of Hanover to accept donations and issue charitable receipts for contributions that can be directed to the Saugeen Municipal Airport as a legitimate municipal program. So I need a mover and seconder before we discuss. Councillor Cable and Councillor Sacco. So questions or comments? And if you need some questions directed to Chris, Deputy Mayor Dickert.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just wondered, like, how much of a time commitment are we looking for here from our staff? Is it going to negatively impact any other operations if we supply this?
Councillor Hocking.
Thank you for your question, Deputy Mayor. If you look at the sponsorship table, we're probably looking no more than 20, 25 donations max. And so I would, well, I shouldn't speak for Chris. Should I, Chris?
Chris, would you like to comment?
Through you, Your Worship. The town's role would be to accept the donations and provide a donation receipt, a charitable donation receipt to the person providing the money. Then that money would be transferred to Saugeen Municipal Airport to put in their funds. That's our role as the Town of Hanover. As their administration would have to keep track of who's doing the donations, who's doing it over 10 years, and have to provide information to us as the bookkeepers to provide invoices out. It's not up to us to keep track of it like we did with P&H Center. That's up to them. Our job is to provide them the money when we receive it. If we were not the bookkeepers, we too could still do, as a Town of Hanover, accept donations on their behalf, as we do for Launchpad or other areas that don't have the ability to have charitable donations. And then we would forward that money on to them, and that they would do what they need to do with that money. Our job is to accept them as donations because we provide a service, and that program is eligible under the Town of Hanover, and we can then provide that money to them, and they would work on that themselves. So for us, if it's only 25 donations, it's 25 charitable donations that we have to do. Keep in mind that it would be over a 10-year period that you're giving all this service to them, especially for, I think it's your platinum and the gold, and I think the silver and bronze was 5 years. So that's the commitment you're providing. Keep in mind, all municipalities, so Brockton, West Grey, and us could all do the exact same thing, accept donations on behalf of SMA and provide those funds to them. However, I think they want to keep it all in one area, so you're not getting 3 or 4 different municipalities involved.
So I think what I'm hearing you say is you're not concerned about the time commitment.
As I've mentioned to Dave, I said we will accept the donations, but we will not be the people looking after how the donations were come by, who's the donators, who's the sponsorship, et cetera. That is up to SMA. We are not the administration for SMA. We are the bookkeepers for SMA. That's all our job is. And again, if we were not the bookkeepers, we would be accepting donations and just forwarding the money to them, and that's their concern. The only downside is that the Town of Hanover shows that those donations come into the Town of Hanover, and they have to show up on our financial statements. So our donations could be up about $160,000. And you'll say, where did that money go? And it'll show that it went to transit.
But again, the time commitment's not a concern.
Okay, thanks, Chris, and thanks, Deputy Mayor Chris. You answered both my questions. What happens if Hanover is no longer the bookkeeper, and can the other two municipalities issue receipts? And you said both can be done. So any other questions? Councillor Sacco.
My question is go along the lines of Deputy Mayor Dickert as well. How long is the campaign running for, Councillor Hawking?
Ideally, we'd like to have this completed by August. But the commitment, if you looked at the sponsorship, it's a 3 to 5 year, 10 year, so that goes on. But yeah, we want to get in and get out.
I'm thinking about Christine, of course.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I keep answering for Christine.
Okay, other comments or questions? Sherry?
I was glad to hear Councillor Hawking mention about their audience for who they'll be approaching for the donations, because I think it's important for council just to be aware, right? Like when donors write a sponsorship check and it's the Town of Hanover name going on it, they don't necessarily separate that Saugeen Municipal Airport isn't directly a sole Town of Hanover entity when it's our name going on those checks. And there may be other organizations, not other organizations, other town initiatives that will be fundraising in the future that will then be asking our community members and organizations. And again, it'll be, you know, who do we make the check out to? Town of Hanover. So just to be aware of that.
Communication, always. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor of accepting donations and issuing charitable receipts? That's carried. Okay, item 13.5. This is the audit planning report to council from BDO. It's, I think they have to send this every year, correct, Chris? And it's explains the process and the timeline of how the audit will occur. Any comments or questions? Straightforward. Okay, that's for information. Item 13.6, this is a resolution from the Council of the Township of Clearview, supporting a resolution from the Township of Lucan Biddulph regarding barriers for women in politics. So it's on the agenda to receive for information, but if anyone feels they want to support it, we may do so if you want to. Otherwise, we'll receive it for information. Councillor Hawking.
Having a bad time tonight. I get told to get moved closer so they can see me, and too many instructions, pardon me. Yes, I would like to see us endorse this letter from Clearwater.
Okay, so I take it you will move it?
I will.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Sacco. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor of endorsing? That's carried. Thank you. Item 14 is councillor and staff updates, and let's start with the deputy mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I will be fairly brief. March 22nd, myself and Mayor Patterson attended a meeting with the county talking about urban and county, the status of urban and county roads. Also attended the Business After 5 of the Chamber of Commerce at Rivera. March 24th, we had our Smart Strat Plan meeting and the general meeting as well. March 25th, took part in the year-end bond spiel. Thank you to Councillor Hudson for putting that together and getting us all in shape and stiff and sore for the following days. March 28th, helped with the Active Aging Expo. The March 28th Firefighter Awards Night was a great experience. I thank Chief Denniger for his work in putting that together. On April 2nd, attended the South Bruce Nuclear Exploration Forum. It was actually a 2-day event. I could only be there for the 1 day, but it was well worth the time to go. On April 8th, it was really good to see all the young kids and families out attending the Rotary Easter egg hunt. Our downtown was quite a beehive of activity, and it was great to see all those young families out there and enjoying that. And on April 12th, I attended the Economic Development 101 session in Walkerton, and it was also a very good session, and a lot of it refresher, but always nice to see what can be done on the economic development front. So, and that is my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Your Worship. March 28th, I participated and volunteered in the Active Aging Expo. Great success. Kudos to all organizers and volunteers, and thank you to council that volunteered to help out. March 28th, I also attended the Hanover Fire and Rescue Awards night. Congratulations to all on their awards and promotions. March 26th, I participated in the closing tournament of the Hanover Curling Club with Councillor Cable and Hudson and Deputy Mayor Dickert. I'm sort of disappointed Councillor Hudson, she's jumped ship on or pick up on Saturday, but I will still stick it out curling with her next year. So April 9th, attended the Rotary Easter egg hunt along with my nieces and great nephews. A great turnout. A big thank you to the Rotary Club for a great event. I heard many positive comments and attended all my committee meetings. That's all I have to report.
Very good. Thank you. Councillor Hocking.
Thank you, Worship. I too attended the Aging Expo, and hats off to the organizing committee. And I thought the guest speakers in the morning and I think the morning sessions were outstanding, great quality. I too attended the Fire and Rescue Awards. Congrats, Jeff, for an outstanding night. And I couldn't believe when you mentioned the hours that these volunteer firefighters put in to keep us safe. It's truly phenomenal. So salute to you and salute to all the firefighters for their service. I attended the monthly Probus meeting at the Hanover Legion. Great talk on the Own Sound Transportation Company, which is the company that looks after the Chi-Chi-Mon. And just for something, the Chi-Chi-Mon is 50 years old and they need a new Chi-Chi-Mon. But if the government made a decision tomorrow, they wouldn't get it for another 10 years. They wouldn't get it for another 10 years. So the longer the government delays, the longer they're going to have a ship to replace. It's because of the lack of proper ports to construct new ships. So it was very informative. And I attended the Grey Bruce Singers concert on Saturday. And it's great to see that the Grey Bruce Singers are back and a great performance. And I attended my responsibilities on committees too, but I don't need to mention the dates. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Your Worship. On March the 21st, I attended a half-day seminar at the Walkerton Water Center on Safe Drinking Water Act and the statutory standard of care. On March the 22nd, I also attended the Business at 5 put on by Rivera, followed by the monthly PRC meeting. March the 25th, as Councillor Fleet mentioned, was the Hanover Curling Club year-end bonspiel. And I do have to say, Councillor Fleet did a wonderful job skipping the second game. So thank you. On March the 28th, I also volunteered at the Seniors Expo, which was excellent. In the registration, we were able to talk to a lot of people coming in and find out where they were from and how they heard about the actual event happening. Following that, Fire and Safety Awards. And again, thank you, Jeff. Great presentation. It was really nice to see and sort of get an idea of who all of our great firefighters are. So that was nice. And the the event after to ask all those questions, that was good too. On March the 29th, Library Subcommittee on Personnel, as well as attended as a guest the Airport Commission meeting. And April the 5th, another library advocacy fundraising meeting. April 5th was the Committee of Adjustment, and April 12th was also the Committee of Adjustment. It's a busy month. Also attended as Councillor Fleet and Deputy Mayor Dickert, the Easter Rotary Egg Hunt, as well as the Easter concert put on by the Saugeen Academy the previous day. And on April the 15th, also attended the Grey Bruce Singers, and we have a lot of talented people in our community. Great events. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cable.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's been a busy and productive month of change and future planning at Launchpad. The board met on March the 21st and 29th. Those are both closed session meetings. And we also met yesterday, April the 16th, for a special meeting. And I believe that the minutes from that meeting will be forwarded to council. We're pleased that spring programs are beginning tonight at Launchpad. So that's great to see. And those are being held on Monday and Wednesday evenings. Launchpad also hosted a volunteer appreciation evening on April the 6th to recognize the many dedicated volunteers that make their volunteer programming possible at the center. So it was great to see there was many volunteers that came out for that recognition event. Launchpad is recruiting new volunteers, so we would certainly encourage any community member that's interested in supporting youth programs to reach out. And we're also recruiting new members to join the board, and applications are available at www.mylaunchpad.ca. On March the 25th, I participated in the Hanover Curling Club Bonspiel. That was a lot of fun, a great way to wrap up the curling season. On March the 27th, the Hanover Bentinck and Brant Agricultural Society held its first governance committee meeting, which I was pleased to join. And so the governance committee is going to be focused on policy and procedure development. On March the 30th, the Hanover Bentinck and Brant Agricultural Society Hall Committee met, and that was our first meeting for the new hall, and we are pleased to be inviting Andrew Wilkin to attend our second meeting, and we're hoping to get some clarification on kind of what are the next steps in order to move that hall project forward. On April the 5th, we had a Committee of Adjustment training. There were 5 modules, things from minor variances to consents and the planning process. So that was a good training session, and I was able to finish up some of those last night. And then I'm looking forward to attending the Hanover Chamber of Commerce Awards tomorrow evening.
Thank you. Councillor Sackle.
Thank you, Your Worship. On Tuesday, March the 21st, I too attended the Walkerton Clean Water Center course, and I did the lessons and the final quiz, and I earned my certificate. On Tuesday, March the 21st, I was at Launchpad meeting. We were able to meet the staff that night, so it was really nice. We had pizza. They got to tell us about their jobs, and it was very informal but worthwhile. Wednesday, March the 22nd, I took part in the Chamber of Commerce Business After 5 event as well. And I had a tour of Rivera and got to see some of the apartments and talk to some of the residents, and it was worthwhile. On Wednesday, March the 22nd, I had a special meeting for the Launchpad Board of Directors. Tuesday, March 28th, I served as a volunteer for the Active Aging Expo event at the PNH. And I'd like to congratulate the Age Friendly Advisory Committee and all the work done by Laura Kristen and Brandon Dobson in putting together such a wonderful event. There was a terrific turnout. It was so well organized, lots of good vendors, excellent guest speakers, and delicious food too. So way to go, group. Tuesday, March the 28th, I attended the Fire Department Award Assembly at the theater. Chief Deniger, you gave out a lot of awards. I liked the fact that you did past firefighters as well as current ones. And I thought it was an especially great opportunity for the families to see their loved ones acknowledged on stage and for the public to get to know all those who volunteer as firefighters. So thank you for that. Thursday, April the 6th, the Launchpad staff invited volunteers to a dinner event to thank them for their work over the past few years. They created a video and showed that. And program manager Ashley Hoy organized a really beautiful setup. And I think the public needs to know that there's a real potential rental space in that spot. To see it all done with the tables and chairs and the linens and the candles and everything is really nice. And the fact that we have a commercial kitchen in that facility is also a great opportunity. On Tuesday, April 11th, I attended a Zoom meeting for the Saugeen Artists Guild Plein Air Festival. You might remember we had that last summer. This year, it's going to run from July the 19th to July the 23rd, and I'm going to be volunteering with that. So I look forward to that event. Wednesday, April the 12th, a Community Economic Development 101 conference was at the Best Western in Walkerton, and I participated in that and got to see that lovely video 3 times now with the, Lego characters. And on Sunday, April the 16th, I attended a special meeting at the Launchpad Board of Directors. That's it.
Thank you. So I attended the Federation of Agriculture Politicians meeting, and there was an excellent speaker in the morning speaking about Bill 23. And then the panel discussion in the afternoon was very good. And I believe that's one of the best politicians meeting I've been to in quite some time. So well worth attending. I'm not going to say a lot more about the Active Aging Expo and the Fire and Rescue Awards. They were both very well done. I did have, with Meals on Wheels, attended for a photo just to say thank you to volunteers here in Hanover. And I also attended the Gray Farm Safety Association meeting and dinner. And it's interesting, people think that Hanover does not have any agriculture, but we do have agribusiness. And I had to remind a couple of mayors about that we're not just straight urban. And some of the difficulties that arise on the farm is that most farmers work alone. So if there are accidents, it's difficult, it's hard on the families. And there's a lot of angst about moving equipment on our roads, whether they're highways or just back roads, because as you know, people do not have patience anymore when you're behind the big equipment. So, and they're quite involved in getting the word out to stop and just think, almost as if in any situation, whether it's agriculture or not, but stop before you do anything and take a second to understand what you are doing. And they attend fall fairs, they go to farmers markets, and they just promote safety all they can. So that was quite interesting to learn about that. So at this time, I'll ask staff if there's any updates. April.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to take the opportunity to provide an additional update on Launchpad as per Councillors Cable and Sacco. Just to reinforce, the Board of Directors is working diligently to get house in order. There's many things that we're reviewing right now, including our staffing needs, work plans, current capacities for programming, building maintenance, and more. And looking forward, we are finalizing our plans for facilitated business planning for our sustainable future and our required staffing needs. We're looking at fundraising, which includes grants, donations, and sponsorship plans, new board recruitment, as mentioned, room rental opportunities, and more. So there will be a more formal report coming in the near future, but I just wanted to provide that verbal update in the meantime for you all to know that there's a lot of work happening in the background. I also attended the NWMO conference, or the South Bruce Nuclear Exploration Project seminars or conference, and I wanted to share some key takeaways from my perspective. It was really good to have all the information delivered in one spot because you see the signs up, you see the different articles or whatnot or opinions, but it was nice to hear that confirmation of safety, and it really built the confidence, I feel, of those in attendance. But I guess the biggest thing that I took away is the economic benefits that this region is going to see. During the 3 phases of construction, and we're looking from 2028 to 2159, there's 3 phases over that time. There will be a base of 200 employees. During phase 2, there will be an additional 400 contractors during that construction phase. And then during the 3rd phase, which is the operations phase, there will be up to 700 employees. So there's no doubt in my mind that Hanover is going to see the effects of this should that site be selected. And it's good for us as a region to be prepared for that. So the major focus that was discussed at the forum was on economic development and being ready. And promoting collaboration, because not one municipality can work on this on their own. We're stronger when we work together, and you know, we all talk about that all the time. So there's a identified need to train our skilled labor workforce and invest in our youth. So to me, again, another opportunity for Launchpad moving forward. And I had the pleasure of discussing those opportunities with some NWMO employees. So I think our future looks promising in that regard. And then just lastly, the Student Startup Program has officially launched. That's through our Saugeen Connects partnership. So there's opportunities for businesses to sponsor youth entrepreneurs this summer. And also we're opening up applications for youth to participate. That's all I have today. Thanks.
Thanks, April. Any other comments? Any staff want to update? Sherry?
I'm just going to mention one item for council and our listening public. You'll find tomorrow that the Civic Center is opening at 9:15 instead of 8:30. And that's because we're gathering as a full staff team for a quick, we're calling them team tailgates. It's not your traditional type of tailgate that you would find before a sporting event, but it's an opportunity for our team to come together, and we will be sharing some information as well as a training opportunity. And it's our second one to date. So we're trying to do these quarterly as an opportunity for our staff to connect and share information, and also to provide a bit of a training opportunity as well.
Thank you. And April, I just want to say that's very timely with the NWMO and the economic spinoff from that, and our strategic plan starting to take place. That's very good. I knew there was going to be a benefit, but I didn't have all the employee numbers like that. So that's good. Thank you. All right, Andrew.
Thank you, Your Worship. Wasn't going to say anything, but it's spring. Construction starts to really pick up starting now. The weather's changing. There's some exciting projects happening in town. I'm thinking specifically at the corner of 7th and 10th. I would just advise patience. There will be some noise. There will be some traffic. We do monitor any and all complaints on any property, but as they arise, don't be scared to contact us to look after it under a bylaw enforcement property standards type of situation. Yeah, I just thought I would mention that. You'll see things certainly starting to pick up around town, and yeah, exciting time.
Thank you for that. And a reminder that we have that customer service portal, that if our residents are listening, to go on the website and put in the compliments or the concerns. And one thing we're fortunate as local people, we know how to get around 10th and 7th. We're talking about the former Queen's Hotel site, whereas people from out of town are going to go straight through. So if you find another way around town, take it, because it's going to be busy. So, okay. Anything else? Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to take a minute just to highlight a couple of things that are coming up in the next couple of weeks. The public library in Hanover here is doing a couple of things. They're doing a poetry open mic night next Wednesday, April the 26th from 6:30 to 8:30. The same day, the Youth for Christ is also doing their annual fish fry at the Hope Community Church from 5 until 7. And the tickets for that are $20. And also the Hanover Public Library is starting their coffee with groups again. So they're doing Coffee with Chief Noel on Thursday, May the 4th at 10:30 in the Saugeen Room. And just to make everybody aware of the Hanover Hospital Foundation, the auxiliary has now placed the quilt in their window at the tuck shop of a fundraiser that took place in the mid-20s to raise money for the new hospital, which at that time was the old Nectil building, the old Nectil house that turned into the hospital. So actually that quilt is hanging now, and it has 309 names of residents of the area that had paid 10 cents to have their name embroidered on a quilt. So take a few minutes and go up and have a look, because you'll see all kinds of names of people that, they might be related or a lot of prominent members of the community. So it's quite an interesting piece to have a look at.
Very good. Okay. we'll move on. Item 15, planning and other meetings. So all of our meetings are listed on this agenda and also on the website. Item 16 is dates to remember and announcements. The next committee of the whole meeting is May 1st at 4 p.m. The next regular council meeting is May 15th at 4 p.m. And Earth Day is this Saturday, April 22nd. Meet at the P&H Center at 10 a.m. and bring your challenges with you. And I'll ask at this time, are there any notices of motion? Seeing none, we do not have a closed meeting, so I need a mover and seconder to adjourn at 5:30. And I have Councillor Hudson and Councillor Hawking. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much.